Geist has been defeated, and the realm has been saved, but there's always more work for a daring hero in a world like this. We have a problem. The Scions were a secretive group before, but now everyone knows of them as the saviors of Eorzea, and all too many unsavory actors are looking to buy us off in order to have our aid. This has happened a little bit before. Remember how there's no Aetheryte in Vesper Bay? That's by design. Or when you go, there's instead a statue of a certain someone who wanted to put the Scions in their place because of their open neutrality. Minfilia is worried that should we accept their aid, we may be able to achieve more good. So she has us ask the others their opinions on the matter. Though the group is mostly against breaking its neutrality, there's still a hint of uncertainty, until we speak to Alphino. He's very, very outspoken about his oppositions to breaking the group's neutrality. To that end, he proposes that we move the headquarters to Mordona. Unfortunately, Minfilia is fiercely against leaving Thanalan. You see, Minfilia believes that her adoptive mother Flamin is still alive, even though everybody believes her to have perished during the calamity 5 years ago. Guess it's time to go mom hunting. First order of business, we're gonna go consult with the most miserable waste of flesh in Lenotia, Gigiruju. Shamani Lamani of the Company of Heroes has a strong sense of smell on account of being blind. He encountered her, and he recognized her particularly potent perfume as having a scent reminiscent of flowers native to these parts. Flamin asked where she might find some more of the flowers, and he told her, and so we walk once again. She's about to be accosted by a wild Gubu, so we just... So we catch her up on some things, and then bring her over to the Waking Sands. Flamin convinces Minfilia to leave Thanalan, and we finally begin preparing to settle in Revenant's Toll. Hey guys, Walk Only here, just here to wrap up a few things before we leave the Waking Sands for good. God damn it. So we head on down to Gridania, where we're sent to meet the Elder Seedseer Kane Senna and a Moogle named Kuplo Kop. Good King Moggle Mog, huh? Right. Looks like there's some explaining to do. Long, long ago, the Moogles dwelled in the heavens, acting in service of the gods above. All was well, and there was plenty of wine to go around. So it was that the Moogles were contented there. But not all was well between the gods, and they eventually took to squabbling amongst themselves, which was bad business for the Moogles. The heaven and the earth were too far apart for the Moogles to fly between, but the great magnanimous King Moggle Mog the 12th hatched a plan most clever. The king would hold a rope for the Moogles to climb safely down to the land below. But this act was not without consequences. The king, as the one holding the rope, would have to remain in the heavens above, alone and without his subjects. And now a facsimile of him has been called down, as a primal. Alright, the plan is simple. We're gonna take a ferry out into the Shroud, and then follow Kuplo Kop over to where the king has been summoned, and then it's walloping time. One small problem. Some of the Moogles that helped summon the king are here, and they're not so happy about Kuplo ratting them out. The Moogles leave, and so we begin the walk through the forest, only to be waylaid by woodland creatures sent by them. Before going in, I gathered a few lovely helpers, including some from the Party Finder system. So before going in, I just want to thank Ashalarian, Chad King, Ducky Bunny, Funk W, Irikima, Polini Yadiri, and Yeth Higashikata for joining me. This is the very first 8-person trial of FF14, and it just so happens to have 8 enemies, so this is kind of like a tournament arc. While we get through the first bit, this is a great time to learn some more about our opponents. It's time for the real fight now, with the big Mog himself. Essentially, we're tasked to square off against the king while he summons down his Moggle's guard to thwart our efforts. So you must be wondering by now, is this fight hard? Well, it can be. Moggle Go Around is a fun ability where 3 huge circles are placed in sequence around the arena. Now, ideally, I do this. But I can't move that fast at the end. Anyway, here's how it really went. But that's really the only difficult part of this fight. Alright, that's another primal down. Another feather in my cap. Another... oh, wait. Let's see here. And... oh, just 3 more to go. The Gridanians are grateful, so we can head back to the Waking Sands. Hopefully, we can finish moving soon. We have a fine conversation with Urianger until a cry rings out from the solar. Minfilia is laying on the ground. Through the echo, we see that she was visited by an Ascian in white robes. He claims to be an emissary and reveals that La Brea still lives. Tataru walks into the room, and we learn that only those with the echo can see Ascians that haven't possessed a body. Minfilia tries to stop him from leaving, and it doesn't go well. Minfilia, surprisingly, is quite alright after being blasted. She tells us to go find this white-robed Ascian, and so we go forth into the unknown once again. Unfortunately for us, he's still right outside. He tells us that we can follow him to the north, but there's going to be danger along the way. At the end of the path, we're even confronted by minor Ascians. As a reward for passing his trial, he tells us that Heidelin's power is waning. He also gives us his name, Elidibus. He leaves, promising that we'll meet again. We're 2 steps deep into being ready to leave, so I really hope this is it. Sure enough, it's time to move on. The Rising Stones is a clear upgrade from the Waking Sands, and it's a lot further away from Ul'dah. After settling in, we're sent to go speak to a member of the Brass Blades to investigate a missing shipment of crystals. A Brass Blade named Fufalupa tells us of a cart that they suspect to be carrying the stolen goods. But Thancred arrives and tells us that that very cart was only carrying a drug named Somnus. So the Amalja weren't the ones who stole the crystals, which is shocking, to say the least. Who else could have done it? Deckard gives Urianger a call. But he's kind of dealing with something himself. Someone in a hood from the eastern land of Doma asking for the leader of this place. Back at our investigation, Fupalupa has a theory. He believes that a member of the Brass Blades may be conspiring with the thieves. So after some light investigating, we find that the thieves are from Lenosia. Fupalupa tells us that they've identified the traitor in their midst, but failed to capture them. But just as the case begins to truly get cracked open, we're sent away back to Vesper Bay in order to help Alphino. He scolds us for being late, and then tells us bluntly that we as the Warrior of Light will act as insurance in case any Garleans are following the Domans. Thanks, Alphino. Doma is a land far to the east of Eorzea. But like many nations unfortunate enough to live within the same realm as Garlemald, they've been taken over and conquered through sheer force. But to sum up the incredibly exhilarating political intrigue that follows, Garlemald is currently embroiled in a war of succession for their next emperor, the Domans seeking to capitalize on this tried rebelling from the Empire, but their nation was razed to the ground to serve as an example to any others that may try something similar. So, some of the remnants of the Domans have come to Eorzea in hopes of finding shelter. The leaders of Ul'dah, a city already struggling to handle the refugees of Alamigo, mostly reject the idea of giving them shelter within their walls, save for one. Teleji Adeleji, though his motives are likely nothing good. So instead we secure them a place in Mordona and aid them in transporting the people from Vesper Bay. The Domans are eager to set out, swearing that Revenant's toll will flourish at their hands. Why had I become an adventurer, huh? Because it feels like I've spent so long walking that I've almost forgotten. But obviously I didn't go this far for no reason. That's right, the reason I started walking in the first place. Obviously there couldn't be another reason. Southbourne happily accepts the Domans and Revenant's toll. As does Minfilia. Just as the group chatters about recent happenings, Y'shtola returns with fresh information in tow. The ones who stole the crystals were the Serpent Reapers, pirates who were tempered by the primal Leviathan. Through the echo, we see what Y'shtola saw. Deep into Lenosia, a Sahuagin priest claiming that he'll soon possess a power that'll have him standing equal with the Emissary. Ring any bells? So the gang gathers in Lenosia, and we begin the slow trudge over to where the Sahuagin's Aetherite is. After making it, we're promptly surrounded on all sides by enemies. Luckily, we have some pretty strong allies, like Yugiri, who proves to be incredibly competent at fighting. And Deckard does pretty well too. Sahuagin start the summoning ritual, which isn't ideal in the least. As the Sahuagin priest is filled with power, Merlwyb decides to take matters into her own hands. But his spirit lingers, and after possessing a nearby Sahuagin, it's as if he never died in the first place. The Sahuagins continue their ritual, so Merlwyb, with all her pirate wisdom, resorts to brute force. In his spirit form, the priest taunts the group, stating that he cannot be killed, but as a being currently composed of pure ether, he's the perfect snack for someone else. Leviathan, god of the Sahuagin and a fearsome primal of the sea. We give him a firm glare, and since game recognizes game, he sinks back into the water, disappearing from sight. And after that Leviathan meet and greet, it's time to go back to Limsa Lominsa. So we're bound to fight Leviathan at sea. That's pretty bad, since it's a beast that can control the waves themselves. We're going to be using a boat with a mechanism similar to the one used to disrupt Kurta's winds, but a little different. So we walk once again, this time to begin our struggle against Leviathan. So after assembling a squad of friends and party finder saints both, it was time to begin. Special thanks to Ashlarian, Anaxalithil, Blake Kokion, Glassy Maton, Hiroku Orium, Teradiros, and Technothorn for helping me on this. Alright, there are a few things to know about this fight before getting into it. Leviathan will quickly split up into two different enemies, the head and the tail. Which one you target is very important depending on your class. Essentially, if you're one of these, attack the head. If you're one of these, attack the tail. And if you're one of these, you can take your pick. If you happen to attack the wrong part, your damage will be reflected on you, so be careful. So it all kicks off, and as a physical range DPS, it's my job to attack the tail. At a certain point, Sagan will jump onto the ship, and just as a general rule of thumb in this fight, you want to kill every single ad. But even if you ignore the Sagan, you really don't want to ignore the bubbles that appear. These need to die in order for us to properly resolve the next mechanic. Soon after you kill the bubbles, Leviathan will disappear under the waves. As soon as he does, you need to book to this spot and interact with the elemental converter as quickly as possible. Here's what happens if you miss that window. Attempt 2 went a lot better though. Hero Iroku Orium through torrential attacks still got the converter, making them the true MVP of this episode. With the converter up, we can survive Leviathan's attack and continue on with the fight. Now, just for the record, Leviathan has a couple of the tricks up his sleeve, but he never actually used them here. Another primal is slain, and we've saved the day yet again. After the group is left, Y'shtola bluntly tells Merlweb that as with kobolds, the Sagan only acted out of self-preservation, because of the actions of the Leminsons. Merlweb accepts this, but retorts that the Leminsons have a right to survive also. Y'shtola isn't exactly impressed by this argument. Back at the Rising Stones, we meet with Minfilia, who shares some of her thoughts about what we saw. The Sagan priest was using some form of the Echo, which granted him the ability to be free of his mortal body and exist as formless ether. Something Elidibus hinted that any bearer of the gift may be able to do. However, in his formless state, he was absorbed and destroyed by Leviathan. Thus, Minfilia theorizes that there must be a way to destroy the Ascians, if their means of existence are at all similar. Orianger arrives bearing urgent news. The students at Baltesian's home, the Isle of Val, has disappeared entirely. The massive wave of ether, it just disappeared.
If there are no other matters, I move that today's meeting be adjourned.
It is done, my lord. Forgive my impertinence, my lord, but these orders, I am uncertain as to what end they serve.
Revolution.
Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, it'd be amazing if you could press the like button. If you want to watch more like this, press the subscribe button to stay updated on the latest videos and streams.